What up, everybody? It's your boy Tom here, and I'm just jumping in with a quick little video that's an update about my health. So you may have noticed that in the last 2.5-ish years, I've been what you could call quite inconsistent when it comes to making art and especially making content. I don't know what kind of content I can even really make if I'm not making art, and I don't want to just put out shit for people to watch. About 2.5 years ago, I had an injury that, as far as I can tell, and as far as my doctors have told me, was like a repetitive strain injury from drawing so much in bad posture. And that injury was a herniated disc in the base of my neck that is pushing on the nerve root where it enters the spine, and it's pushing on those nerves that go down my dominant side of my body, down my arm, my back, and my chest. So that sucks. And I actually didn't even know that that's what the injury was until end of January this year. So over 2 years after I first got injured. And that's because for the first 3 months of being injured, I was not helped at all by my doctors. For weeks, I could barely stand up for more than like a minute or so. Sitting was incredibly painful, so I just had to lay flat on a couch. The pain was horrible. Like, I'm a different person because of those few weeks, especially. I couldn't sleep because of the pain. I couldn't really sit up or stand up. The only thing I could do was, I had already been in physical therapy, so I could push myself to go there, and I was getting up to go to the bathroom and eat, and other than that I could do nothing. And after that first 3 weeks, that really excruciating pain was over, but I was still in pretty intense pain basically 100% of the time, and that lasted for like another 3 months about. During this time, I could not sleep in a bed. I couldn't really sleep much at all, but I especially couldn't sleep in a bed. It was too soft. So obviously that was taking a toll. After that 3 months, I got no painkillers, no steroid injection to help with the pain, nothing. I finally had convinced my doctor to, do some imaging, and they did an X-ray and a CT scan, and they didn't really find anything, but I was still referred to a spinal specialist. It sounded like at the time he had said that this could have been a disc issue, but it was mostly resolved by the point I got in to see him. But it was mostly resolved by the time I got to see him. And that was true. At that point, the physical therapy had helped out a ton. My pain was at a much more manageable level. So it just sounded like, continue doing your physical therapy. There's nothing more to be done. And that was that. So that went relatively well. I eventually started being able to start working on art again. And so for about, I think, like 9 months, I was slowly creeping back to having a more normal life, or my version of a normal life. And I was slowly ramping up the amount that I could do art, though I never got back to the amount I was doing before the injury, which maybe is a good thing. I don't know. I was doing it a lot. About a year after the initial injury, I started working at the job that I'm still at now, and basically the exact same time, I got hired on to do some like real professional artwork that was going to be made for a game, like a product that I wasn't making, and that was like my first opportunity to do something like this. So even though I was now working more and I still wasn't able to do art as much as I could have before the injury, I obviously sprung at that chance. This is what I had been wanting. Like, this could be my break. I literally drew myself into having a serious, maybe I shouldn't say serious, but I drew myself into having a real life injury working so hard for this opportunity. And so obviously I jumped for it. I was upfront about my struggles with this pain that I was in, and that I was worried it could come back. And so I just let them know that was a possibility so that there would be no surprises if I couldn't meet a deadline or anything. They were really cool to work with. The game is called Godvane. It's not out yet, but I still talk with the people behind it, and I hope them well. I hope the game's able to come out soon. But yeah, that's besides the point. Anyway, they were really good to work with. But yeah, the thing I was afraid of happened. I pushed myself way too hard. I was hired to do 2 illustrations at first, and within 2 to 3 weeks of starting the work, I was home one night, staying home from a Thanksgiving party thing that I was invited to so that I could get ahead of the work in case I got injured. And I started feeling some tightness, and I just kept pushing myself, and then that developed into more pain than was normal, and I kept going, and I started feeling electrical pulses going down my arm from my neck and down into my hand, and I pushed myself until I finally was able to tear myself away. Yeah, the damage was done at that point. I had relapsed my injury, and it's been over a year since then, a year and a half almost. I've been dealing with that one session of being too obsessed with my work and pushing through what I knew I shouldn't push through, and I've been in pain ever since. So I immediately knew I had fucked up, and I got in contact with the people I was doing the work for. I told them I probably wouldn't be able to finish on time, but I wanted to finish anyway. They were really cool about it. They're called Rough Magic Publishing. But anyway, I'm very angry at myself for pushing through like that. But what are you going to do? You can't change it now. So I went back to physical therapy. Originally, I just started doing the exercises I had been doing at home again more often. And it helped, but not a ton. So after a couple months, I got back in to see the spine specialist that I had seen, and he really did not take me seriously this time. And this time he said that, it was not an issue with my disc. It had never been an issue with my disc. It was only posture related. He kind of weirdly made fun of me being an artist, basically just pushed me out the door, but I made him refer me to a rheumatologist, and I got back into to see a physical therapist. We just were doing essentially the same thing that I had been doing before, and I just kept getting to this point where I was mostly better. My pain was not nearly as severe at any point during this relapse as it was when I first got injured, but it was enough pain that it was, making me unable to do my art, and also just being in pain all the time is not fun. Oh, and I should mention that I was on a wait list to see a rheumatologist who could evaluate me for hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a connective tissue disorder that causes weird joint issues in your body, chronic pain, and fatigue. So I was on a wait list for that, but I ended up doing a 3rd illustration for Rough Magic Publishing. They wanted me to be able to do more, and I wanted to be able to do more for them, but it just didn't pan out, unfortunately. I kind of have nobody to blame but myself. This was the opportunity I had been waiting for. I had been trying to make happen to kickstart what would have been hopefully a career where I was actually making a living, and I kind of blew it by pushing myself too hard. I was unable to do more work for them, and for a year and a half now, I've been really unable to do much art at all and try to rebuild a career for myself, because I guess I don't really see much point in networking when I can't deliver the art that I would be promising, But anyway, things went on like that for a while, where I would get almost better, and then I'd get too active, or I would do a little bit of drawing, and then I would be in more pain again, and it just was like this cycle the physical therapy was not fully getting me out of. So I eventually requested an MRI, and the MRI showed, yes, this was a herniated disc. This was a disc pushing on the nerve going down my dominant arm, and there was more to be done than just physical therapy. So they put me on painkillers. We tried those for a couple weeks. It was the amount of time the spine specialist that I saw, a different one this time, told me to try the painkillers. And if they didn't help at that point, she said they probably wouldn't really help. So then I got a steroid injection scheduled, and I had that. At time of recording about like a month ago. And it's hard to know if it helped. It really didn't help. I was feeling a little worse afterwards, but that's not uncommon. But I would say it didn't start helping at all until like 3 weeks after. And I think that's a bit outside of the window they tell you that it will help. So I don't know if it was the steroid injection that ended up helping or not, but I was in reduced pain for, that week. Things are a little worse now, but still better than before. But I'm getting off topic. But at least finally I was getting answers. And then 1 week ago today, I finally got to the top of that wait list, and I was assessed for this condition, hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I was diagnosed. I should put a disclaimer that I have hypermobile EDS very mildly. A lot of people find it completely disabling. It can cause much more severe issues than what I have, other than just chronic pain and fatigue and, joint hypermobility issues. And I am able to lead a relatively, a pretty active lifestyle. I walk a lot for my job. I basically walk like a half marathon 3 times a week, but I am very specifically unable to do the thing that I'm most passionate about in this life and that I want to try to make my career, which is art. I'm not fully unable to do it. It's really just like, how much pain can I push through? Also, the diagnostic criteria for hypermobile EDS is, not very good, and it's being changed. So there's a potential that I fall out of the diagnostic criteria in the future, but I guess we'll cross that bridge when it gets there. So that basically, on the one hand, is validating because it means I'm not just having normal pain for a nearly 29-year-old. I'm not just being a wimp about the pain. It's not necessarily just psychosomatic. It is real, and there's a condition beyond just the herniated disc. On the other hand, this is a problem beyond just the herniated disc. There's no cure for hypermobile EDS. There's not even really treatment. They suggest I get strong, which I have experience working out and being really active and weightlifting before. So I'm going to try to start doing that again. But I'm going to see a physical therapist that they have worked with their patients. And then there's more for me to learn about how to manage having this and how to be preventing the injuries that are kind of commonly seen with it. Get out ahead of them so that I'm not trying to heal some damage that's already been done, like with my disc. So that's where I am now. I just wanted to make an update. I don't know how much I've ever really explained online what's been going on. This has been a tough 2.5 years, to say the least. And I feel like, this has obviously had a toll on my mental health as well as my physical health. And there's plenty of days where I might feel physically up to doing more work, but I just I feel so unable to mentally get myself there, and my ability to focus is shot. I mean, I have ADHD, but I was doing much better with it before the injury. And I don't know. I am very worried that I will never be able to get back to the kind of quote-unquote grind that is seemingly required of young artists to break into the industry. And even if I do break in, so to say, I don't know that I will ever be able to match the output that would be required for me to actually make a real living doing this. I don't know if it will ever happen. And that's even if we assume I get back to a point where I can focus and really work hard and do the things that I've never been good at doing: networking, social media, marketing. I know those are skills I can learn, but I guess I'm just saying, even if I get there, I don't know if I'll physically be able to handle it. And this physical pain I've been in for so long has seemingly really affected my mental ability to learn and do those things I'm not good at. But anyway, I'm just kind of rambling and complaining at this point. I did not mean for this video to be so long, but yeah, if you watched, thank you. And I'm going to try to make this thing work, try to be an artist, but I don't know if it'll happen. And I just ask for your patience in the meantime. Bye.